Good afternoon. Welcome to another Traders Community podcast brought to you by traderscommunity.com. Welcome investors, traders, punters and dribblers to another session of what we've seen, what we're looking at, what others are looking at, and how the market's reacting and what the influences are. Remember, it's not financial advice. It's just a look at all that, our viewpoints, make your own decisions, go over it, and hopefully we're helpful. Anyway, we got the glorious Madhavi here with us, and we have somewhere in the midst, like the gorilla in the midst, Meta Johnny, who has been trading on his, obviously with a little bit of volatility lately, liking the Bitcoins of the world. Anyway, today was a very interesting day. And the reason we have Grandpa on there, it's kind of one of those days, screaming at clouds in some respects. Walmart had its earnings, and it had its biggest fall, over 11% since 1987. Now, we know what happened in 1987. Jerome Powell came out with a fireside type chat with Wall Street Journal, and it was all tough talk. Hey, we're not going to hesitate to raise rates, etc., etc. Never mind. The FOMO bear market is now into its third and a half days, if you want to count it since the bottom there on Thursday. So there's more a concern of missing out rather than losing money. Now, what's interesting, if you recall, a lot of them did buy, a lot of the retail accounts did buy, and you get the steady buy over the last week or so. So some of them are going to be up, decent on some of them. Some of these stocks, the familiar names, have gone way above value under the normal criteria. We see energy stocks on a tear, and they're by far the best performing. Occidental, a lot of these are just soaring. So if we look at, without further ado, let's look at the prices. So we did come off the highs today. We did have API out earlier, which was a surprise draw on oil. So oil's 113.50. Not sure how much that matters right now in the environment with products. We all know about gasoline. Natural gas stayed up here at 8.31, up again. The mighty little Russell, 1840, S&P 4094. So it took that tank and we're looking at. The Nasdaq, 12,576. And Vol came off most of the day, though it did bounce to be $1 off the low at 26.47. Let's look at the SPOOs real quick. Again, a quiet day. I like, as I've mentioned, we take our profits. I like to set up for the next play. So as far as it's awkward to be long in this kind of environment, other than day trading. But the short trade, as I said, has happened. So we're looking back. We're watching the dribbler. If that index gets changed around, whether we add new ones in or get back into the ones that are in there, we'll recalibrate that. And that's to do with value and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, you can see on the weekly, the tanking is way up here. Let me find the cross arrow for you. Where the heck is that? Where is that? There it is. Had it up all along. It's like asking where your socks are and they're on your feet, right? So 4107... 4118.60 was that high there. We're at underneath that right now, just under it. The cloud at this point is at 4132. If we go to daily, this is more what we're talking about. Remember I said we're looking for a test of the tanking and it usually goes over it first. Look what we did. It's not magic. This is just telling you where supply is, where the pain is. Remember, markets go towards pain and the rubber always meets the road, okay? So that's it right there. 5/8, good move. We can see that needs to rebalance now. Look how far that is above the Chico. So we're looking for that to spit and then it'll tell us from there. On the 5-minute, pretty cut and dried. These little churns are like, what's his name? Powell speaking, ignoring, up. So puts or vol got really expensive. So this has been a big vol sell as well, basically what's going on. Okay, let's go on to Nasdaq, and we'll bring Madavi up. So you can see on the weekly, we've had a green spug there, pretty much like it. Where's the 60-minute? There's your 60-minute. Well, actually, let's go 5-minute. Anything on Nasdaq, mate?
Well, as you well know, I went full position yesterday. Then after the market, when it got up, I think up 60, 70, I got stopped out. And then today, I think it was like, I don't know, we're up like 350, 370. I added back on my full position. So now that's about it. That's all I did.
Yeah, so you can see here it's a rising wedge, and it's hard. We just trade a little bit different on futures. And but you can see it's a rising wedge. It's hard. It's retested that breakdown point on Nasdaq. If you can see on, what's this, an hourly. So it makes you wonder how many, it's quite a shocking how big Walmart is and how relevant that is to the economy. And it's totally ignored, and so is Powell. So either the market got really, really short down there, which VIX except doesn't suggest that, or we're just, nothing's been learned. And that's all obviously what happens in bear markets. We've seen some stocks that are worthless for valuation point of view up. So it's all just a plaything, a casino, etc. Okay, let's look at energy. Has been the topic du jour. So again, nothing different on Natty. That nice bounce off the 50. We're waiting whether this is a 1 or 2 up here. Right, remember it's a 4 or 5. So we got that right there. Nothing changes. You know your levels. That's the daily, the weekly, obviously even more clearer. On the 5 minutes, see what it does. It tends to have these moves and chop. But look how it churns around the grid. Plus 3/8 to 1/8. So that's a full move, right? Okay, let's look at oil. So as I mentioned, we have API number out. That's all on the website. So here we had that double top we were talking about yesterday. That has formed. Needs to get above that. Otherwise, this just becomes 1, 2, 3. See how that's slow? 1, 2, 3. Series of churns, right? Okay, just keep it that bloody simple. Seriously. Oil weekly. You can see it's a different scenario. You can see it's sitting above all this, right? But you can see where support is now. On the downside, it's all the way down at 104.62 major, because remember it was trading between those. Commodities. So we've been watching these a little bit. Weekly is actually trying to bounce off that destruction down the bottom of the cloud. So that's relevant if you trade FCX. So widen that out if you be. Gold recovered back to that, it broke through that line. It's back at it. Look, it did get under the cloud. Let's see what it does from here. Pretty clear. You got this support. See all that support all the way across. 1781. Your resistance is now going to be this 50. 1850. You can see it's trying. It's just spinning either side of the cloud, right? Silver, the dog, the turd that we mentioned. Look what that did. Got all the way down here, right? 2036, it's trying to bounce, and it's testing this breakdown level. The other one I saw going by was wheat today. So let's have a look at that. Remember we mentioned this last week when they had the WASDE report, USADA. This was the one that had the issues. We've also got the stuff going on with in the Black Sea. And lo and behold, it gapped up and continued up today. That was at WEAT. None of us really trade wheat futures here, grain futures, or pretend we do. But we do fiddle around in WEAT occasionally, right? Not that any of us did this time, but we did notice it, right, Madame?
Yeah.
Johnny actually brought this one to our attention way back when. Unfortunately we missed it. Okay, let's get on to stocks. Well, look at bonds real quick. So, quiet down bonds. You can see it's just churning out, but is it? Look at this. The 10-year is back above 3%. Now, that's meaningful, right? And what that means, of course, is bonds are weakening. So, you're seeing selling bonds, buying stock is another way of looking at it. And it's also, so there's that element going on. There's the currency element going on. And there is, Powell was talking, and there is inflation. But go to the store if you don't believe me. Let's have a look at, what do you call it, Tesla did today. So that's still going on, that war of words of Elon Musk, backwards and forwards. Who knows what the truth is as far as what he knew and didn't know. Twitter's saying one thing, he's saying another. But he's on quite the offensive for what do you call it? For the, what is it? MUAs. Anyway, the real number of users basically on Twitter. I find it hard to believe it's less than 5%, just seeing all the fake stuff we see, right? But who knows? There may be a ton of real people out there that don't get on it. But the point is, obviously, he's paid too much as far as the stock market goes. We all know that. Tech, and he's angling, as Madabi said yesterday, to get it lower. Or maybe he just wants out. Who knows? But meanwhile, what's relevant is Tesla. It's held that, it's a daily, held that low. We got an update today. Apple, look at this little bounce. Really powerful stuff. Almost back to 150. 151.44 is tanking. But look what it's doing in reality. It's testing that breakdown. CVNA, you traded today, right? Savannah, whatever it is. So that's its little move today. Got smacked. And you can see all this averaging going on. So that's not healthy if it goes down again, because it means you're fully sated. And often it just gets back to almost break even, teases you, and gets smashed. Okay, what was the other? Oh, which other stocks do we want to look at? Where did I put them? So coin was one. So coin has come all the way from $41 back to $70. So again, I'm not sure how much of this is short covering, because I would think if you're a short, you're hedging something else at this point. Let's look at what crypto did today.
Verdun.
So
Walmart, a whole bunch of stocks.
Yeah. Walmart we definitely look at, as we mentioned at the top. So we got a green spug on this week. Let's see if it keeps it on Bitcoin. And you can see in coin we just saw, coin's kind of mirror image of this. And stuff like MicroStrategy and all that. I don't go near any of that. I mean, you may as well get a gambling or drug problem if you're going to muck around that, right? Anyway, let's look at Mighty Walmart, because this is not an insignificant stock. That is a whole section of the US economy shops at that place. Even more so now in inflation. The thing is, the people that punt the markets, bankers and that, don't shop there, right? So this was one of our big shorts in puts maybe 6 weeks ago that unfortunately we got out of, because it took it to futures, so it kind of stuffed that trade up. But anyway, here's what we did after earnings. Earnings come out, it's at 8.8. It collapsed. Like I said, this was the biggest one-day move since 1987. And what happened in 1987, punters and dribblers? Huh?
E7.
Exactly. Yeah. So this was let's put this in perspective. This was the biggest fall, and it was ignored by the rest of the market. So that's today's move. It's a perfect move. 8.8. Down to 4.8. So at 8.8, right? So 0.8, this was your first move. See that little bit of support? I think this is a bad tick. It went out, hit the tank, and boom, down again to the next, minus 2/8. Didn't even get the tank. You can see how it's, so if you don't believe in it, look how it's mathematically doing it. Algorithms at work, glorious things. Look at this kiss of death here. That's just a thing of beauty. Boom. From there, 143 to 31. Okay, let's look a bit longer term on this piece of... So, as I said, this was the biggest fall since 1987. How's it look on a weekly? So, this is what it's busted. Now, let's look at the relevance. A lot of people got into this stock after getting out of like tech stocks or whatever they may have got out of, crypto, who knows. In other words, they went into safety, right? Kind of like that. Madavi, is this a stable coin of the stock market? People got in this for stability, right? So it's gone from 160 to, let's call it 130, $30, right? So it's almost 20%. And this is in a lot of portfolios. And it's nice to say, oh, I get a dividend. Well, if you fell that much, you may have an issue, Uncle Sam, right? Or Uncle whoever. So anyway, what we did do, though, we're looking for a reason to buy or hold. This is what it got down to, this breakup point. But bear in mind, if the market rolls over, does this hold, right? And this is the US economy, the middle class, lower middle class to working class, food stamps, all that sort of stuff. No, I don't mean any offense to anyone. But you got some big levels from Murray. This is plus 1/8. We haven't even gone 4/8 yet. Okay, so we did that one. Take Two was another one. These guys had earnings yesterday. They're a gaming stock, and they the opposite to Walmart. So you buy your game, you sit at home, you don't shop at Walmart anymore. So Take Two on a daily. You can see the power move. This traded down to 100. Yes, I guess that was... so it did the same level yesterday as what it did during the... what do you call it? The dump. Let's just call it the dump. Here we are. It gapped up and opened today at 117, ran to 125. Still a long way if it's high. This is GTA and all that. Okay. Veru's one we like trading. You know, you get this one's a bit dangerous. Yeah. We got caught on this a week ago when someone upgraded it. So basically, we were short here, added to the short here, didn't take profit here, stopped out here. Then we went long today after we saw this consolidation. Well, actually, if I show you an hourly, it might make more sense to you. So when I saw this consolidation, or let's see this little flag, holding, and this is today when it got back here. You can't really see it in an hourly, but if I did a 5, and then it extended up here nicely, right? So this is what this thing does. This stock is trying to fast-track a COVID thing. But it's a day traders. They love it. The punters love it. The dribblers love it.
I just covered that short I was into that thing. Made money.
Peru? Yeah, nice. So that was a nice short off here. So the difference here, they got caught on it, was stayed short overnight, right? And the reason, so they did that upgrade, was they, because you can get short. And Madavi, what happens when you can get a short in a really hard...
Which one?
So Veru, what do you always say? If you can actually get short, you're about to take a pumping, right?
Oh yeah, you're about to get it.
So we actually, this is what sucks from a trade point of view. Took the short here and didn't get out here. It got down to 630, mainly because it sold a bunch of puts there. So you got to be careful not to get handcuffed. And then got unlucky. It closed like 8, and then this was the uptrend which we stopped out on. But in something like that, like in a tech stock or whatever, it's one thing. But it's hard to stay short biotechs, for my opinion, risk reward. So every now and then you're going to take a doozy like that. We'll basically short this because of fail, secondaries, likely, market collapsing. And this was Thursday, right? Okay, what other stock did we want to look at? There was another one.
Oh, stocks. We got a lot of them.
Oh, Docs was after
We
hours.
got a whole bunch.
So Docs was one report
DOCO.
after hours that we actually played the bounce on.
They killed.
So they missed. They beat on EPS. But they warned going forward, right? So they warned going forward. So it went bang all the way down 25. We got actually. I didn't realize we got that good along, mate. Anyway, what we noticed in the dribble was it was 08, but we were just trading order flow. I'd love to say we were looking at this, but actually, let me put the 5 minute up. So if we had this, we did look at it quickly. We just knew it was oversold. Madavi's watching the order flow. But the first thing I saw in the headlines was they're going to do a buyback. Now, we remembered that stock from last week, HRB, H&R Block, despite missing or not being spectacular. I really can't remember their earnings too well. But what I do remember, they bought stock. So we were fortunate enough to get this pop right here, right?
80-20, I got out of covered my short 60.
Yeah, so you did that little scalp too, right? I just did this one.
Yeah. I'm just playing around, bored.
Is that it? I think that might be it.
We have this great one, EOSE.
Oh, this is a real interesting one. So this little stock is EOS Energy. It's a small stock that was presenting. Did I not put that in right?
EOSE.
I should know.
Edward, October, Sam, Edward.
Yeah, EOS. So it's EOS Energy. So an easy one to remember. I don't know how I stuffed that up. Pretty small company, new. A lot of people find this really exciting. So a lot of analysts are on this and watching it. It's presenting at, I think, yesterday through to tomorrow. It's presenting at a clean energy conference in San Antonio, Texas. So these companies are energy storage type situation, lithium, etc., more conventional. But so obviously lithium has been an issue, how dirty it is. So these guys, a lot of people are touting this as something spectacular. And as you can see, it had a dramatic move today, 129 up to 236, and just hanging in there. Potentially this is a wedge. This is one to keep an eye on when we saw that volume come in. And it's an energy stock, right? So why did it stop? This shit is magic, they say. No, it's all maths. This is why we recommend, well, Novawave, obviously we believe it. There's second to none, but look at this. The exact high was the Cajun on a daily chart. So sometimes you think, what the hell do you put your order up there for? So you go and look at this sort of shit. Now, you'll get this sort of stuff every now and then. So what does this tell you? It's also a touch to 50, and you got the twist here and a flat. It's relevant. So it gets through this, which is basically today's high. Your next level should be this 381, which lo and behold is this breakdown. If it gets over that, because what is this? This is, where's 08 on this? We are at 08, right? Why isn't it showing 08? Anyway, there's minus 1828. So you can see what's gone. Potentially, you count out, these levels where it can get to. This stock looks like it's been up to $22. I don't know. I don't know if that's done secondaries or whatever. But it's one that's come across a lot of desks today, and we looked at it. We looked at the chart. So
this is one of our holdings for tomorrow. I didn't take no profit. I just added to it.
So yeah, it should be. So the danger is there could be a secondary, these sort of stocks, but it's a hot sector that. So you never know. What you look for is these things to get 3-day runs on them. There's a few like that. Huh?
I don't know, $5. 3, 4, 5, 6, 10.
Yeah, so you got 3 as your likely. It's got to get through this first, dribblers or punters. Dribblers will get into this around here, probably. Right.
Yep.
I mean, you see a lot of stocks are way overdone. Like we looked about, all the social media, Twitter, Facebook, Bumble, all these things have gone a lot further than what rational people think. So, but these are an energy stock. So to put into perspective, you know one of my favourites is EQT that we trade up and down. Why is it a favourite? Because it's deep. It's got plenty of market makers on, which is important. Like I'll tell you a story. When it's kind of what got us screwed on Veru, where I didn't get out, was we're trying to get out of eBay puts. We're up $9 on Thursday. You couldn't get anyone to make you a price. So you got to be careful what you're in some of these options. And I think Madavi might have read. I ended up losing on that, but I'd sold. I was able to sell stuff, so it ended up break even. But in perspective, you're up money, right? Now, when you're trading in a bank, like say to Morgan or Goldman or someone, they'll make your price, boom, you're done. So it's a different world. But you're in the dark area, right? The dark pools. But when you're on like an E-Trade or what's the other, like Think or Swim or Interactive, you're limited to that. So just keep that in mind, right? So that's in the dark area, right? The dark pools. But when you that's the sort of stuff I look at. So that originally I mentioned it's EQ2. So remember, we shorted this off plus 2.8. We took profit on this little spit back up when it tested all this breakdown level and got over it. So this was a really nice trade. But this is all doable. This is thick, has volume. P10's another one. Oxy's another one. So a lot of and I'm not saying that one we just showed you is going to do this, but it can do it. These stocks, no one wanted to believe in them back when we were buying them a year ago, right, Madavi? I mean, Look, this little beauty here, APA. Granted, we're in Houston. We know about these. We actually know a lot of these companies. Like, the lawyer for this mob lives up the road. But Apache, I'll show you the weekly. So we owned this thing at $8. Right? So, and I want to say here, it came back almost retested. So it's easy to say you held it. Some things you did, but these things don't pay dividend. So we've got out here, then you buy back in on breaks. But you can see these are companies that were nearly dead. And this is what grinds their gears when they hear someone like Biden or Pelosi. These companies were all dead here, and people were hoping they were going to die. Can you imagine if all these guys went under, what the energy crisis would be, even worse? So you can see why they don't trust anything. Anyway, here's Apache. I just want to show you that. This is the high it had before the rout, right? So basically, let's call it 50. I think it is 50. So we're $43 here. Actually, little Johnny did that. I think he bought this here, Madavi.
Nice.
Just pumped that right there. So nice trade.
I keep adding on to my VIX for a rainy day.
So let me see if we can bring. I think I've got to bring up VOIX on here.
Little Johnny.
Little Johnny. Well, as opposed to my granddad, who went by the name of Old Johnny. Even when he was 35 or something.
He's Big John now.
Oh, it's Volex, sorry. But yeah, you killed it on that. We were just talking about you with your Apache train.
All Johnny does is kill it. We're going to call him Killer Johnny.
Well, I think there's a serial killer called that, so we can't call him that.
Ah, perfect.
In fact, I'm pretty certain there would be a serial killer called that. So here's Vol. So here's the thing that's a bit surprising. With all that panic last week, the end of the world, and I made this comment that the fear ain't really there in comparison. So if we go to March, well, let's look at the events. So COVID, all this sort of stuff back there. I mean, China shuts down. This is probably Russia invades Ukraine. This is China shuts down again. China's pretty good at shutting down. They got some issues. Then we correct, there's no fear. And then we had the whole collapse again, raising rates, right? Well, the relevance is we never got back. We got bloody close, but the point is we never blew over with panic. And look at how quickly... So this means there isn't fear, basically. Remember what vol is. It's a calculation of option spreads, basically, on the S&P. So, as we just said, I was talking about when you were away, Johnny, about that eBay trade, how we were way up and we couldn't get out of it. You had the same one. And on options, and so it was like... So you got to keep that in mind. Sometimes it's just better to do stocks. Sometimes it's better to do bloody nothing. But...
take a loss.
Yeah. Well, my point is on the option, you're up, but there's no market. If you can't get out if there's no market. People forget that. That's where liquidity is the key thing. So put that into perspective. If the market didn't turn around, we could have got whatever for puts. It's when it turns around, right? Or market makers might have blown up. Who knows? But that should be a warning to people holding stuff. So anyway, here's what Madhav is talking about. VIX. He's looking for this. See how it's got a nice little double bottom. We saw that today. There's a green spug in it, which means, remember, volatility going up. So there is a... So I don't know if you can really do technical analysis on a bloody volatility. But you can get a rough idea of it, right? So, Johnny, we wanted to save this for last for you, because we know you want to look at it. What stock do you think it is?
Let me go. Hold on. Probably MicroStrategy, but hold on.
Yeah, you read our bloody mind. So here's MicroStrategy. So if you don't have a drinking problem, you will have one if you trade this. But all jokes aside, so this... But here's what's interesting. I fully expected to bring this up and it be a total replica of Bitcoin. But it's actually dramatically worse, right? Because if we look at Bitcoin again, this weekly, so Bitcoin's fallen from 69, it looks like, down to 24, right? So that's 60% of its value. So if we go back to MicroStrategy... Where did we put it? That's coin. So here's MicroStrategy. So this really was this high? Damn. Fuck.
Yeah, how much was that?
Hey, Jesus. Oh my. Dude, look. I don't know whether to laugh or cry.
Yeah.
Dude, over $880. So it got down to 120, it looks like. 130 maybe. So it lost. I'm no genius mathematician, but that there, my friends, is over 80% of its value.
Better get
let's call it 3/4 of its value. So here, I mean, do these guys do secondaries or anything? Does anyone know? To raise money to buy more Bitcoin? I know they just buy Bitcoin. This is all this dickhead does. But just think how much money has been lost on this. So it got way ahead of Bitcoin, I'm assuming, the way it's done this. Is this a week? So let's go to a weekly. Fuck me. Oh my goodness. So it gets worse, Madavi. This has gone from 80 to 1,300. Spiked all the way back to 400, bounced to 880. Jesus. So that's obviously blow off top, just like Bitcoin. ABC, so 1, 2, 3. So, in simple terms, this is either an ABC that can rally and correct. You know, this was just a correction of this whole move. Or this is your first wave down. This is 1, 2, and this is your third, fourth, and fifth wave playing out, which means this thing would become worthless more than likely, right?
Highly doubt it. I don't see Bitcoin bouncing anytime.
Well, yeah. This is way ahead of Bitcoin. Look at this. They obviously bought this. The Bitcoin people that didn't trade Bitcoin probably buy
The
this.
funny thing is, if Bitcoin drops to 22,000, they get margin.
Dude, if Bitcoin's 22, this is done. I mean, look, yeah, I get to, yeah. This is that guy's company, Michael, someone. But so I think this must get people that don't actually want to trade Bitcoin because the stock market's safer. They buy MicroStrategy. Geez, that is brutal to look at. But dude, look at this, 120, and I remember this. It moved from 120 or 130 in 1 hour to $200, and it's been drifting. Damn, the overhead supply on some of this stuff is insane. It's got to be, right? Let's have a look at NVIDIA. That's an old family favorite, particularly in Johnny's house. Loves it. So we broke Tenkan. You got your Cajun up here at 190 on the daily. So again, very similar. It's testing all these breakdown levels. See that? So 181, that got down to 150, it looks like, 155. So there we have it, punters and dribblers. Anything else, or that's it? Pretty good. I think you covered pretty well everything. Pretty extensive.
Machine.
So yeah, we took a little bit longer over the last few days because a lot of big things setting up. So we'll leave you with a great grandpa, which this guy was a young man till he... This was Bart Simpson till he traded MicroStrategy. So, any questions, hit us up. Either on Twitter, on the website, on YouTube, plenty of avenues. Make sure you like us. You can follow us on Twitter, traders.com. You can make sure you like and follow or subscribe to YouTube. Share it with your friend if you find it useful. Anything you want covered a bit more or a bit less. Any questions at all, just hit us up and we will catch you at the roundabout. So we have more earnings, by the way. We have Lowe, which is another hardware store. I don't think we mentioned that, but Home Depot had good earnings today, right? But they were up 10% and came all the way back. So tomorrow's Wednesday. Tomorrow before the market, we have Lowe and Target and TJX. After hours, the big one tomorrow is Cisco and a bunch of other ones. We haven't. Sounds like we have someone who's showing up there with a bad position. So we better go. Earning. So we got that tomorrow. What's out tomorrow? We mentioned bonds. We showed the thing, how the yields are up across the board, i.e. bonds down. We saw the 10-year actually over 3 on the futures. Right now it did close around 297 at bond close. Give me 1 second. I just want to tell you what's out tomorrow, the day ahead. So we got the mortgages. Remember, it's Wednesday, so every Wednesday morning you get mortgage index from the MBA. You got housing starts, you got building permits, and of course you got the weekly crude. You also have a 20-year Treasury bond auction. I think you got the 1-year one again tomorrow because they couldn't do it today because of they claimed some malfunctions. A lot of skeptics think it was mainly because Bond was talking. The mighty Bitcoin, didn't we look at that? We looked at that.
Johnny, where are we going? We're going 10,000?
He's on another call right now. Okay, so like, subscribe, smash it, love us, leave us. We will catch you all later. Bye now.